Welcome to the Nearshore Cafe podcast, home to the most interesting stories and people doing business in Latin America.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Nearshore Cafe podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by Nearshore Direct. Go nearshoredirect.com, a great way to find talent all over Latin America. I have been looking forward to this episode for weeks now. We are so excited to have Sofia Neumann, co-founder and chief editor of Startups Latam. Sofia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Sofia, let's maybe first just set the scene. Where are you based today?
Yes, I'm based in Santiago de Chile. Yeah.
And for those who've never had the chance to travel all the way down to Chile, what should people know about the country and the city of Santiago?
Yes, well, Chile is a very large country. That's like a thing that it's like different from us, and it's very nice country. We have like desert in the north and like forest in the Patagonia in the south. So it's very like different across the country, and it's a beautiful country. Of course, I think that everybody knows that Chile it's like a place of wine, and
Yeah.
but of course now it's like this scene from founders and startup is it's growing here in Chile too. So I think that's a very like a new characteristic from Chile. And now we are at winter, so it's really cold, not like in Chicago or other places where it snows, but here it's cold and it's winter, so we are expecting for the summer to come soon.
Now, winter in Santiago, I imagine, the mountains have snow on them.
Yeah.
Is there snow on the street too, or is it more like rainy weather? How would you describe?
It's like cold weather, and sometimes it rains, but not that much. And like last year, it snowed. We had snow a little bit, but just in like the mountains and certain like zones of the city, like the ones that are closer to the mountains. But usually, we just have like a really cold winter with no so many rains, because we're
Yeah.
also like, of course, the climate change. The rain is not like years before.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite topics is food. You already talked about wine. Well, maybe let's start there. Is there a particular wine that Chile is known for?
Yes, I think that is a wine called Montes, and it's like very popular, and it's because it's like known in the wine industry because it
Yeah.
has won a lot of awards. And last year I went to like this part of Chile that it's called Valle de Colchagua, where you can go and stay for a weekend and be near to all the vineyards and go to have a tour. So that's pretty awesome. And I
Yeah.
went to this vineyard, and it was amazing. Like they had this like very good restaurant inside the vineyard, and then you had the tour and drink a lot of wine. That of course is amazing.
Amazing. It sounds a lot like, for those in California, a lot like the
Mm,
Napa Sonoma with the wine tour.
yes.
That sounds awesome with the vineyards. And what goes well with that type of wine? What kind of food?
Yes, we have a lot of types of food. Like there's meat, of course, and people in Chile eat a lot of meat, but also like seafood. Like
Yeah.
we're very close to all the country has coast, so in every part of the country you can have a good seafood like fishes or other types of food, and with white wine it's very good. And also like typical foods like um, it's called pastel de choclo, that it's like a corn a cake with meat that is very good. And another like fast food like completos that is like a hot
Yeah.
dog but more like uh, big and with more things to put in.
Yeah, I have to say, I think in one of my trips, I did have a completo,
Yeah.
and oh my gosh, it was like an enormous sandwich. There was
Yeah.
mayonnaise and everything on there. Yeah, it was no joke. Yeah,
I always remember that when I saw a chapter of Anthony Bourdain's when
yeah.
he came to Chile and he tried the completo, he was like, "Oh my God, like this is crazy! Like the amount of food that we put in the completo with avocado, tomato, and other things, and it's huge. Like it's very large. So yes,
Yeah, it
wow,
was it was a meal. Yeah, usually in the States, I'll have like I'm a bigger guy. I can have two or three hot dogs,
mm,
but only one
yeah.
completo and I was complete.
Yes, when I was
Yeah.
in the States last year, I tried my first hot dog from there, and it was like very disappointing in compared to completo from Chile.
It's like where's the rest of it? This is
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
That's great. Well, the big meat of the conversation that I wanted to talk about today was startups
yeah.
and this world of startups in Latam. So maybe let's first start off. What is Startups Latam? Tell us about this organization that you co-founded and how it all got started.
Yes, of course. Well, I was when I graduated from college. I'm a journalist, so I started working in newspapers and the innovation area, and I start like getting in touch with the startups ecosystem and venture capital. This was in 2018, so I didn't know anything about it before, and I started like getting to know this industry. And then I was in another newspaper writing about these topics. And 2021, I received a call from this website that is a news website, and that time was called Startups Chilenas. It was all a focus in the Chile ecosystem, startup ecosystem. And now last year we start not just focusing in Chile, in all of Latin American startups.
Yeah.
And what we do is that we have like a news website where we write about what's happening in different places of Latin America, like news, and also we make events, networking events in different points of Latin America. We were recently in Bogota,
Yeah.
and also we are trying to like making a new platform so we can have more data. We want to be like
Yeah.
the crunch base of Latin America. That is a big opportunity to collect and have in like just one place all the news and all the data that it's like growing a lot recently. Like the number of founders and startups and venture capitalists is like going crazy the last 2 3 years in this part of the world. So it's like a big opportunity to have all in one place and give to like to show the good news in Latin America and the talent of people here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's plug that website for our audience. Where can they find the website right now?
Yes, it's startupslatam.com. And also we have a big community on LinkedIn. You can find us like Startups Latam. It's like a purple logo. And yes, we have like 61,000 followers. So we're growing every day, and we
Incredible.
post everything on LinkedIn, all the news, and or we have like podcasts like this too, so you
Yeah.
can hear it there in in our YouTube channel too. So like making content to show the talent and the what's happening in the Latin American startup ecosystem.
Yeah. I want to start with Chile because that's
Yeah.
where the business started. give a sense of what the ecosystem looks like today. And when you think of startup ecosystems, you're thinking of capital, of course, and investors. You're thinking of talent and engineering talent and product talent, especially. You're thinking of experience, people who've had success and then they stay and recycle and mentor. And of course, there's other things that make an ecosystem. But, what does that look like for Chile today?
Yes, I think it's reaching a new like level. It's more mature than years before in the sense that now we have like great founders that had success. For example, this case, this exit startup that it's called Notco, and that it's in the States too, and it's a unicorn. Now the founder, Matthias Mochnik, invest in other companies here in Chile or Latin America. The same with another unicorn, Chilean unicorn called Corner Shop, that it was bought by Uber,
Mm,
and the founder is very active investing in other companies. So that the thing that founders that reach success and now they're like giving a hand back to the ecosystem. I think it's like a show that it's very mature, that's growing and it's getting more mature, the ecosystem. Also, the number of venture capital firms are growing. Like these past 2 years, I have seen a lot of new firms and also like a lot of companies making their own corporate venture capital. So the capital is growing. Of course, not like big like funds with millions of dollars are smaller, but it's a good sign. And there are also like going on rounds of capital rounds with VCs from the States, so like talking and investing together with the state's VC, so that it's a good sign too. And also like the number of founders, like
yeah.
it's been a lot of um, interest on people that I don't know they're starting to build new companies, and if they fail, they start a new one. Like the
Yeah.
culture of entrepreneurs, like it's getting bigger and more people are choosing to build a startup to get in the entrepreneur way than getting into a company like a worker.
Yeah. Um, when you talked about some of the VCs, say from the States, like the ones we might know of, like Andreessen Horowitz or Kleiner Perkins or Sequoia, or maybe there's others that I didn't mention. Um, what is their interaction right now with the Chile startup scene?
Yes, there's a lot of like these big VC funds that have invested in Chilean companies. For example, I think that Notco received money from Tiger Global
Yeah, yeah,
and or others. So like these big VC funds are watching the Chilean ecosystem and investing with these other more local firms. So that's like a good sign. So the local investment can learn from the industry that is more mature in the States. And also, it's not just in Chile, it's like all over from Latin America. For example, in Bogota, when we were making an event in May, we met this guy that is a founder from a startup called Juno. And
hmm
he told his story that he was like scrolling Twitter and he found like a post from Anderson Horowitz and he applied and now Anderson Horowitz invests in his startup. So it's like huge, like these interactions,
yeah.
and that's Anderson Horowitz is one of the big VC in the world.
That's
So
right.
he invests in a Colombian startup. It's a great sign for other founders and like I don't know family offices that are also like looking and getting to trying to invest and entering to this industry.
Yeah. Now, take Chile, for example. I'm quite interested in the venture capital arm of this. Are
Yeah.
you seeing more like say Andreessen would open up an office in Santiago, or are there organic VCs in Santiago? You know, maybe from like founders that have exited, or or like you said, the family offices. What's maybe more common today? What do you see?
I see that maybe there's people like coming for a few weeks and like making a tour from Santiago
Hmm.
startup ecosystem or Latam ecosystem, but it's not like the old times maybe before pandemic that they had to have an office in Santiago to make deals. So I
Mm.
think it's more remote, and also that is like this big wave of founders going to, I don't know, Miami.
Hmm.
There's a lot of Latin American startups going to Miami, and then maybe it's easy for the VC funds go from the states to go to Miami and then meet the founders.
Yeah,
But I don't see a lot of office in here like maybe past days that it was like necessary to be present
yeah.
to know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think Zoom, has kind of
Yeah.
disintermediated it. Yeah, absolutely. How about the stages of fundraising? Maybe Santiago is not quite where Silicon Valley is.
Mm.
So, are you seeing more like early to mid stage rounds, or are there also later stage, larger rounds happening?
Yes, like in 2021, that it was like a record year in
Hmm.
Latin America in the number of investments. There were like a large in late stages round, like a C or maybe D rounds.
Yeah,
But now it's been like lower because of the, of course, global context.
of course.
And like this year, we I have seen a lot of A series or B
Hmm.
or even C, but not like late stage like in the Silicon Valley ecosystem that
Yeah.
it's very very like millions of dollars. Here's like, I don't know, yesterday or this week a startup closed a fund for like 14 millions, and that's
Hmm.
like a big number here.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, or 30 millions, but we don't see like rounds like 100 millions. That is not very common here yet.
yeah. Now, would you say part of that is because of the price of labor? Is that a component of that, or is there something else that's impacting the size of the rounds?
No, I think it's one like the eco, like the mature of the ecosystem.
Hmm.
Like there's like these companies that are in a stage that they are trying to grow and scale around the world, but they're
Hmm.
not like big, big. That they're not yet that big companies to get the
Yeah.
money. And of course the global economic context, like the VC activity is low than last year in every,
Of
I think,
course,
every part of the
everywhere.
world.
Yeah,
So of
yeah.
course that affects Latin America too. But the important thing I think is that we keep seeing rounds that it's good for like motivating other founders that are
Hmm.
like to hold in and like keep reaching to VC funds. Um, and also it's very good because this last year we have been very common with the bootstrapping term,
Hmm.
and the
Yeah,
bootstrap founders are like growing and preferring maybe that way than just like going to go get like funds in very early stage. They are like going when they are like more stable and like making sales. Like in 2021, a lot of startups that didn't have anything um, got like £1 million. So now it's
yeah.
like more stable startups that are looking for capital.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It also got me thinking about the types of deal structures. And, obviously this year, Silicon Valley took a blow with Silicon Valley Bank
Yes.
going under. And, that was something that didn't quite exist in other markets of creative financing for the tech startup world, things like venture debt,
Yes.
that you wouldn't really find, in like a farming community in the Midwest in the
Yes.
U.S. or something, right? Uh, did you see, anything like that yet in Santiago, or is it more the traditional, angel seed, Series A VC type of structures?
I have started to see like venture debt funds, like it's growing here. For example, in Chile we have one, and like a month ago they closed like a second fund. So that's a good
Mm,
sign that
yeah,
they were good with the first one, and now they have the second one, and it's startups are I think like looking this other ways of getting the money, or also crowdfunding that it is been here like a long time, but it's now
yeah,
like another way that founders are looking more like more crowdfunding platforms. Um, of course, angel investors, but
sure,
there's no like the amount of money that founders maybe need. They don't have
yeah,
that kind of money. But yes, venture debt and crowdfunding has been like growing here in
yeah,
Latin America. So that's a good sign that another ways
absolutely.
to get to look for investments.
Yeah. Now you hit on something really interesting earlier around that it's maybe more acceptable to start a startup, fail, do
Yeah.
another one. And not every culture around the world is okay
Mm.
with that. Which also makes me think about the intersection of friends and family money,
Mm.
like a friends and family round. When you talk about crowdsourcing, or you talk about where do you go first, right? Do you just bootstrap because you don't want to fail your friends and family, or are they, how common is that, and like what is the impact of the culture right now?
I think that a lot of founders maybe are using like it depends, of course, like the state and the age of the founder, because
Yeah,
like maybe in the college graduates that are like very involved in this world and wants to make something, they go to friends and family. But also seeing like a lot of more older founders that they used to work in uh, like regular industries for a lot of years, and like 10, 15 years, and now they are like making their own startups because they have seen the potential to make the going in the entrepreneur way. So, and I think that maybe there they use their own money and bootstrapping way. So I think it depends on the stage of the founder, like the age. But I have seen both. Like, of course, friends and family is like it's always there, but also this bootstrapping way, and it's getting to like being like seen a lot more than last year's. Like the founders were always like, we have to get money from VC funds, and now it's like, no, we have to get like a stable business model and start selling, and then we have more like arguments to go
yeah,
and present the pitch to a VC.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to talk about talent. So for those that
Yeah.
haven't been to Santiago, at least, this is a modern, glimmering city with beautiful skyscrapers. The subway is like right on par with something you'd see in Singapore. The roads, like everything is modern, well built. So I imagine there's no shortage of engineers, but maybe a lot of them would normally go to civil engineering or industrial engineering.
Mm.
Um, and we have this conversation a lot in the States. Are the best engineers, are they going to work for banks or tech companies, right? Um, how is the engineering talent look right now? Where is it going? Is it keeping up with the demand for the needs of the software companies?
Yes, I think it's growing. Like a lot of engineers are like graduating from college, but of course, like this gap in tech talent, it's a problem. I think around the world, like in a lot of
Yeah,
countries. I don't know. I know that in the States or other parts of the country, they hire people from Latam because they're having this like the situation of the gap of talent. So I think it's a problem around the world, and of course in Chile it's that too. But the talent it's like growing, and there's a lot of boot camps that when you are already graduate, there's more people like getting into these programs that there are like 6 months or 5 months, and you have like this intense
yeah,
education to become a more like a IT tech
yeah,
talent. So there's a lot of that, and I think the talent that we have right now is choosing a lot of going to work to for startups because of the benefits like remote work, more vacations,
yeah.
and health, and I don't know, like mm, you don't have to wear like a tie and a suit every day,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
so it's like engineers are seeing and are going and choosing to work for startups more.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, as you talked about compensation and benefits, stock options. Is that a thing in Latin America too?
Yes, a lot of like startups at the beginning they offer stock options to for like um, to attract the talent. So it's a thing I haven't seen lately. Maybe it was more like the past few years because every startup was hiring people. Like there was like this crazy in LinkedIn. I had seen like a lot of business like job alerts, but now with the startups don't have like the amount of money they used to have, so the
Yeah.
hiring it's of course as not that intense anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Um, so we've talked a lot about Chile. What should we think about more broad, across the Latam region, which, is huge and every country has different nuances. But as you're covering a much broader section, what are some of the overall trends that maybe you're seeing that our audience should know about?
Like tech trends here, like
Yeah,
start.
maybe are you seeing more fintechs
Mm,
versus, ag tech
yeah.
versus all the money's going to Mexico, or what are you seeing?
Yes, I think that here in Chile we have a lot of fintechs, and they are like going to other countries. So it's like a good industry to make a startup, and also like the fintech industry is the first one to and the is the most attractive one for VC. So a lot of fintechs, a lot of food techs here in Chile. And also, I think we have like an opportunity on founding climate tech
Oh,
because the country is like very close to nature, like in Patagonia or the north with the desert. So a lot of climate tech like had an opportunity to build things and to try like in the field with the in Chile. And around Latam, I don't know. For example, Colombia, has a lot of delivery apps and like Rappi, the unicorn.
Yeah.
So that's very or Proptex. Last year, they have like a new unicorn, and it was a Proptex. So Colombia is more like Propter delivery apps. Chile, fintech, climate tech. Um, I don't know, Argentina. Like software companies or fintechs too. So it's like very different, but of course the same at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I want to ask some alternative questions that might be a little fun, a little goofy. Um, so you're obviously quite well traveled. I would love to know the best purchase you've made for under $50 outside of Chile.
Okay, in Latin America,
It could be the States, Latin America, anywhere in the world, just has to be outside of Chile.
I think in the States, like makeup and skincare products, when
Yeah.
I go there, like going crazy at Sephora or Ulta Beauty, yes, or I in Colombia when I went there last like 2 weeks ago, like the food was very cheap, and they have like a lot of retail stores that we don't have it here in Chile, like Stradivarius or like I don't know, like states stores. They are in Colombia, so that was amazing. And also, I went to Argentina last April, and of course, the food is really, really cheap, and books too. So those are very good uh, purchase that I have done.
Good answer. Good answer. How about your favorite English word? So, for example, for me, when someone asks me my favorite Spanish word or phrase, I still get a big kick out of just the simple ordering water, like agua sin gas, agua con gas. I just think it's so much more fun to say. Do you have a favorite English word?
Oh, I have to think. I don't know, like resilience. I think I like that word. Like
Resilience.
yes, or I don't know. I have to think more, but I like English. I don't speak it very well. I'm practicing, but it's a very nice language.
Great. And the last question we have for you today is advice. So we talk to a lot of people, a lot of companies in the States, and we're very bullish on Latin America. We think the 2020s are the decade for Latin America. So a lot of people we talk to in the States are they haven't worked with Latin America yet, but they want to,
Yeah.
and they're very curious. What would be your advice on getting started? How they could be successful.
Yes, I think that like companies or like US people that want to come here has to like to understand that yes, like we are like a group of countries that we share a lot of things like Latin America, but Latin America is huge and has different countries too. So Chile is very different from Colombia or from Mexico. It's very, very different. Like the cultural, like the work, the climate. Like I was recently, like I told you before, in Bogota, that it was like very very hot, and here Chile is very cold, so it's very different. And that's a thing that maybe a lot of people um, outside Latin America that see us like every country is the same, that or maybe they don't know that we are different countries that are part of the like this big group. So it's like a good advice to know that every country is different, and so making deals and business with people from different countries from Latin America is is different, and it depends of the country.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a good advice.
Good advice. Yeah, good advice. Well, Sophia, what a pleasure. I learned a ton about the startup scene in Chile and overall. Hopefully, we can have you back. We'd love to
Yes, of course.
hear more about what's happening, the trends, what's going on in startups across Latin America. Well, let me thank our sponsor once again, Nearshore Direct. Go nearshoredirect.com. Great way to find talent all across Latin America. I'm Brian Samson, your host. Thank you again, Sophia, for being here.
Thank you, thank you. I enjoy being this conversation with you. So yes, I hope I can be back another day.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you again, everybody. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks for joining us at the Nearshore Cafe podcast. Tune in next week for a new episode featuring another special guest.